Okay, next lesson. This is kind of short, but it can be a little bit confusing. Simplify. What are the operations? Okay, you got a plus, you got a times, and then a minus. Okay, plus, negative, put a 1. Okay, and also got to put a 1 in front of that. So I have multiplication and I have addition, but remember with that addition, any addition operators, you don't make the 6 lines. Okay. What am I adding? On the last assignment, we were just adding 2 terms or 3 terms. This you're adding 2 terms and 2 terms. Well, that's the FOIL method. But listen to me. Before you do the FOIL method, you need to simplify your square roots on right now if you can. Okay. So the only square root I have is 5. Okay. So I'll just kind of make a little table up there. Actually, I'll just split this in half. This will be when I do the FOIL. And this, I'm just going to make my square root. So 1 square root of 5 and negative 1 square root of 5. Okay, so 1 times, remember, square root, negative 1, square root, square root. All these are square roots today. So if you don't want to put the little 2's, you don't have to. Okay, I don't think 5's too small to divide by any of that. Don't be dividing by 1. That's why I didn't put 1's on the list, so some of you guys didn't go dividing by it. So, they're good. They can't be simplified. So now you go to the FOIL. Here's how you do it. You got to be careful how you do it. You take 3 times 3. Then you take 3 times negative 1 square root of 5. Then you take 1 square root of 5 times 3. And then you take 1 square root of 5 times negative 1 square root of 5. That's how that's done. A square root's like a variable attached to a number. Same concept. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then what I do is I take 3 times negative 1, negative 3, square root of 5. Now 9's in simplest form, so is the square root of 5. We've already discovered that that can't be simplified. 1 times 3 is 3 with a square root of 5. That's simplest form. Now be careful on the last one. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Now what you need to do is multiply the 2 factors inside the square root. 5 times 5 is 25. And that is not in simplest form because the square root of 25 is equal to 5. So it's negative 1 times 5. And negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. Now it's simplified. Okay? Now, you have 2 sets of like terms. You put your 9 with your negative 5. That would be 4. Then both of these have a square root of 5 attached, but negative 3 plus 3 is 0. So you don't put anything. It's just 4. Okay, next one. 3 plus negative 4 square root of 2. So that has 2 terms. Times 4 plus negative 6 square root of 2, that has 2 terms. So it's 2 terms times 2 terms. So that's the FOIL, but before I do the FOIL, I want to see if my square roots can simplify. So I have a negative 4 square root of 2, and I have a negative 6 square root of 2. So negative 4 times square root, and negative 6 times square root times square root. Okay, is 2 going to be able to, no, 2's too small. So again, can't simplify. So now I go do my FOIL. So I take 3 to 5. Both of those are constants. Well, they're all constants, but those don't have any radicals attached. Then I go 3 to negative 6, but again, negative 6 has to carry with it its radical 2. Okay, you can't write just negative 6 down. Okay, negative 4 times 5, but the negative 4 needs to carry its radical of 2. It's negative 4 radical 2 times 5. And then negative 4 radical 2, negative 4 with its square root of 2, times negative 6 with its square root of 2. Okay, so 3 times 5 is 15. That's simplified. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18 with a square root of 2. We already found out that couldn't be simplified. Negative 4 times 5 is 20, negative 20 with its square root of 2. We know that can't be simplified. But on that last one, I take negative 4 times negative 6, which is 24, but then I have 2 square roots, so I need to multiply the inside context 2 by 2. That is not simplified because the square root of 4 is equal to 2. So it's 24 times 2, which is 48. Okay? So I can combine the 15 with the 48. That would be 63. Now this time I don't get 0. Okay? So what I do is I add negative 18 and negative 20. And I got negative 38. And we need to attach the square root that was on those, square root of 2. Don't add the 2 and the 2. When you're adding when you're adding two terms, the inside of the square roots remain the same. Multiplying it changes, but adding keeps it the same. So 63 plus negative 38 square root of 2. Now, we have a plus right there. So when I have an addition sign with a second power, you duplicate the addition, okay? And just write the same 3. You don't go with the 6 lines. Anytime having a plus or a minus operator throws your ability to work with the 6 lines out the window, okay? Okay, so we got square root of 3, square root of 5. You want to place ones in front. That's smart to do. You would want coefficients in front. So we got 1 square root of 3, 1 square root of 5. Any possibility that those can simplify at the beginning? I don't think so. 3 is too small to divide by any of those. And then 5, the only thing 5 would divide by is 4, but that's a decimal. So nope. Now we start the FOIL process. So you take 1 square root of 3 times 1 square root of 3. Then I go back to the 1 to 1, but it's 1 square root of 3 times 1 square root of 5. That term's done. Now, to this 1 square root of 5 times 1 square root of 3. Then 1 square root of 5 times 1 square root of 5. Okay, 1 times 1 is 1, and the square roots are multiplied together. That's 9. That's not simplified because the square root of 9 has an equal of 3. So it's 1 times 3, which is 3. Now that's your simplified product. 1 times 1 is 1. The square root of 3 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 15. Now, go to a sheet of scratch paper and see if 1 square root of 15 can simplify. Can you divide? Is 15 divisible by any of the perfect squares? Well, not by 9, not by 4, so nope, that's in simplest form. 1 times 1 is 1, and then square root of 15 again. And then 1 times 1 is 1. The square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 25, but that's not simplified because the square root of 25 has an equivalence of 5, so it's 1 times 5, so it's 5. So we can put the 3 and the 5 together, and that makes 8. And then you got 1 square root of 15, 1 square root of 15. Well, 1 and 1 makes 2 square roots of 15. Don't make 30 out of that, okay? You keep it the same. Okay, 2 plus square root of 7, put a 1 in front, times 1 plus 3 square root of 7. Okay, let's see if you can simplify what you have at the beginning. 1 square root of 7, 3 square root of 7. I don't think the square root of 7 is able to divide by any of those because the 4 is the only number smaller than 7, and 7 divided by 4 is a decimal. So, nothing doing there. So the FOIL method, I take 2 times 1. Both of those have no square roots. Then I go back to the 2 to 3, but 3 carries with it its square root of 7. Okay, then 1 to 1, but the first 1 carries with it its square root of 7. And then 1 to 3, both of them carry their square roots of 7 with them. Okay. Okay, so 2 times 1 is 2. That's well simplified. 2 times 3 is 6. Square root is 7. We already know from over here that the square root of 7 can't be simplified. 1 times 1 is 1. Square root is 7. And 1 times 3 is 3, and we need to multiply the square roots of 7 together, which gives us the square root of 49. But the square root of 49 is equal to number times itself. That's 49. It's 7. So that's actually 3 times 7. Okay, that's 21. Okay, so 2 and 21 are like terms. They go together, the 2 and the 21. So that's 23. Then my radical terms, both have the same radicals, so these need to be combined. 6 plus 1, 7. And we just keep it as square root of 7. Don't you put square root of 14. You don't add the numbers in the square roots, okay? Inside the square roots change by multiplying. Adding them just keeps the same number. Okay, then our last problem here today. 2 square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 2 to the second power. Okay. So again, with that power, when you have a plus sign in the parentheses with the power, you need to use the duplication method, not be drawing the 6 lines. Okay, because there's that adding sign throws out your ability to deal with the 6 lines. So 2 square root 5 plus 3 square root 2. That's 2 terms, that's 2 terms, that's the FOIL. Now, are these going to possibly simplify? 2 square root of 5, 3 square root of 2. Can I go 2 square root and expect anything to change? Well, 5 isn't going to divide by anything, neither is 2. Okay, so nope, nothing changes. So 2 square root of 5 times 2 square root of 5. Then 2 with its square root of 5 times 3 with its square root of 2. Then 3 square root of 2 times 2 with its square root of 5. Then 3 square root of 2 times 3 square root of 2. Okay, so 2 times 2 is 4, and the square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 25. The square root of 25 is that's 5, okay? So it's 4 times 5, which is 20. There, now it's simplified. 2 times 3 is 6, with its square root of 10. So 10's not a perfect square. Could you maybe simplify it? Can you do the 6 times square root times square root? No, you can't, because 10 doesn't divide by anything, okay? So that's in simplest form. Then you get another same thing. 3 times 2 is 6. Square root of 2, square root of 5 is the square root of 10. We already know that's in simplest form. Then 3 times 3 is 9. The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4. What times itself is 4? It's 2. So it's 9 times 2, and that's a constant now of 18. So we combine the 20 and the 18. That's 38. And then 6 and 6 would make 12, and we just put the square root of 10. That's how you FOIL with radicals.